So I am Abraham-Gerard Meyer. I am your CEO. I am the founder of Mindful Choice and Mind Focus Therapy, Mind Focus Coaching. Also a founder of the Mental Wellness Society. I have a Ph.D. in psychology, a Ph.D. in physiology, and my field of research have been split-second decision under stress. What happened in half a second, and how we can train ourselves to get better reaction made on the mind and not through the brain and the emotions. Okay, with that said, I welcome all of you to this meeting today, which is recorded and hopefully we will be able to access. And I will ask now Gerry to introduce himself formally and to speak about some of our projects in Tel Aviv and Cuba.
Well, my name is Gerry Leisman. I'm Israeli. I live in Israel. I've spent many years in the United States, and I'm a graduate of the University of Manchester in England, trained as a pediatric neurologist about 45 years ago, God help me. And that didn't work out for me very well. So I have a PhD in cognitive neuroscience and biomedical engineering. And I'm a professor of cognitive neuroscience at the University of Haifa here in Israel. My area of research is developmental, of course, but relating mostly to cognitive movement interaction. And the applications of that are the school system and how kids learn better and how the parts of the brain communicate with each other and what facilitates neural connections and what detracts from neural connections and how stress enters into the picture. And that's a point of connection that I have with Gerard. And my only responsibilities these days in the university is, of course, to raise money, because every academic's job is to drink old ladies under the table for money. So, and doctoral education only. I have no other responsibilities. I'm a full-time researcher. I am interested in the concept of mental wellness because most of the intervention strategies that work around the planet are involved with mental illness. And most of the problems that we relatively normal human beings, I don't know if anyone is normal here, but what most people do has nothing to do with psychopathology. It has a lot to do with effective adjustments in life. So my interest in that, I have a professional interest in that because I'm interested in things like decision making, that what happens with avoidance. If you walk over a frozen pond, for example, and somebody screams on one end, the ice is thin, what do? Do you move forward? Do you move backward? And typically what you do is nothing, which is you stay where you are, and the likelihood of going through the ice is significantly increased. That's not a psychopathological issue. That's a decision issue, a life choice issue, and that has something to do with wellness. Wellness has, in my mind, wellness has something to do with effective living. So all of us here, I would assume, have some interest in optimizing our day-to-day lives, especially as we get older. As a point of introduction and how all of this stuff connects for me, it's really about how to optimize decision-making in life so that life is more effective and for each of us. And as a result, we increase our overall health status. In other words, it's not a health problem that we're interested in solving. It is a problem. It are issues in our daily lives that prevent us from having health problems. And so I see this as the basic ethos of what we're trying to pull off internationally.
Okay, and what about Tel Aviv and Cuba?
Well, thank you for directing the orchestra. We are planning a conference February at the University of Tel Aviv here in Israel on the issue of mental wellness as I've just described it. not only are each of you guys invited, but you are invited also to submit ideas for chats, talks, presentations, therefore abstracts, which are greatly appreciated from each of your own perspectives. And one of the objectives there is to kind of cull a basic knowledge base of what mental wellness is and how we can apply that in professional, non-professional, and life settings. The second conference is going to be in the Western Hemisphere in December 2022. We hope and pray. And that's going to be held in Havana, Cuba. There are a number of reasons why Havana, Cuba. First of all, Havana, Cuba's health system and public health and intervention systems are probably one of the greatest in the world. I know this firsthand because I hold a dual appointment at the University of Medical Sciences in Havana, Cuba, where I have not been for about a year and change, year and a half, because of you know what. They're in not particularly great shape right now, but they solve their problems by coming up with their own vaccine, which may solve a world health problem, by the way, because they're planning on distributing it to Africa, and those folks don't have the money to buy the vaccine. So again, you are cordially invited to that conference as well in Cuba that we anticipate happening, that will happen December 2022, and those arrangements are being made as we speak. So that having been said, I think I've covered all bases, as the Americans say.
December 21 to 23 in Havana in 2022, February 19 to 21 in Tel Aviv, Israel. And the title of the conference is really about mental health, for mental wellness for health professional, healthcare professional, kid care professional, and social workers after COVID, because we want to talk about what we have learned and what we can do to improve situation after COVID. So that, Gerry. Now, what about another founder, Coty from Madrid?
Good morning and good evening. My name is Coty Aserín. I started my professional life. I live in Spain, Madrid. I started my professional life as a biologist, then microbiologist. And the more I was learning, how Gerry said, more and more I was aware that this is your mind, it's making all the change in your life and in your health also. So I went through holistic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and then transformational therapies. This is in this way I found all of these special members, Mindful Choice and Mental Wellness Society, and I'm in charge of Spanish-speaking countries. I started, and later I can tell you about what I'm doing later, right? I can tell you.
No.
Okay, so
now it's your turn.
Last week we held our first meeting among Spanish-speaking countries. We have a problem here because not all the members are so fluent in English, and also not a small number of countries in South America. This concept of mental wellness is new, is quite new for them. So we started to have like once a month meeting and getting some short, medium, and long-term goals. Start translating all the tools of mindful choice, how to see how is to unify our mission and vision, how to see how to introduce those concepts to those countries. So we took like a few targets as to be more participative in social media like LinkedIn, to translate to Spanish those beautiful posts we have in English, to have like a newsletter, and maybe we are start thinking about having a podcast that we can get known, to make known not only the members, but also the concepts and the tools of about mindful choice and mental wellness. So I think we have a very, very, very good meeting. I'm very happy.
I need to add that you have your own channel in Spanish for your members, that you have also starting a WhatsApp line for your members, and right. She's very much proactive in the caring and cocooning of her group. But also something I need to add, to help Coty to translate in Spanish all the mindful choice document on the thing of the mental society. We have found an intern for her within Colombia, who is going to translate with Coty all the body of work of MFC and Mental Wellness Society in Spanish. Okay, so now I need to, now that the founders have been talking, now we need to talk about the new generation of executive in the organization. Torrey Davis, who is a team leader of the OCSP team, and he will explain you what is that team now. Torrey, your turn.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, by the way, before you speak, I want to commend Torrey because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, actually 2:20 in the morning for him, and he wanted to make sure he can meet with all the members. So kudos for you, Torrey. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here. And hello, everyone. I am Torrey Davis. I am the lead of the organizational culture, strategy, and performance team. There are a couple other members, Sree, Kumar, and Simmie Adams, who are also part of that team. And the purpose of the OCSP team is that we are responsible for assisting the CEO with facilitating the mission, the vision, and goals set by the Mental Wellness Society's Board of Founders, and develop actionable strategies that engage the membership in an inclusive manner. We've already begun that process by sending out the welcome packet. And if you have not received that welcome packet, please let us know so we can make sure we get that to you. But that welcome packet, it contains several documents. There are links to the mindful choice coaching assessments. There are 4 e-booklets that lead to better decision making. There's another mindful choice booklet as well, and mindful choice tools that deal with meta competence. And then you have 80 printable iconology cards to utilize as well. But these resources in the welcome packet will help you understand the foundations of the Mental Wellness Society using the MFC methodology. So we would love for you all to ensure that you engage with the welcome packet. And then there's a short survey. It takes about 1 minute to complete, where you can provide us with feedback on the welcome packet, how useful you found it. Do you plan on incorporating some of the techniques that are discussed in the welcome packet into your daily activities in your profession or personal life? But again, our vision is to create a model where mental wellness is the foundation of success for individuals, organizations, and society to be and stay well. And we are really trying to drive home this new methodology worldwide, which deals with the mindful choice coaching method, which really dives into us as individuals or organizations, the leaders of organizations, or the leaders in society, understanding that they are the catalyst themselves to making change. And then they have to make that change not based off their feelings. That's what we're seeing a lot of with COVID-19, or people are getting in their feelings. Our political leaders, especially here in the United States, are getting in their feelings and they're not really making decisions that are beneficial to the whole based on attitude. And attitude being that driving factor, not the feelings themselves of what's the best decision to make, what's going to get me the outcome. And with the MFC methodology, you're looking at the destination or the end in mind to start with, and then you use binary thought process to make good decisions towards your destination, essentially. And that has been something that I've lived by my entire life. I did not know how to describe that until I met Dr. Abraham, and that has been very helpful when I actually go to consult with organizations, because I'm aspiring to be an IO psychologist, currently working on my dissertation in IO psychology. And when consulting with organizations, it really comes down to, you know, are we going to make this decision or are we not? Are we going to move towards where we say we want to be, and we're going to take those baby steps to get there, or are we not going to do that? And that's really helped organizations start moving the needle forward and get out of that gray area and realize we're either going to make decisions like we say we're going to make and get the outcomes we want, or either we're not going to do so. So it's been very helpful with me in the IO psychology field. We've also, the organizational culture, strategy, and performance team have developed groups or cohorts so that you can engage in on Slack. That communication went out, I believe, yesterday. So look for that in Slack and also LinkedIn. But the names of those groups, you're looking at health and wellness professionals. That's going to contain acupuncturists, chiropractors, fitness trainers, just to name a few. You have another group of human resources, IO psychology, non-government organizational professionals. That's business and executive coaches, health and safety experts, HR professionals, and then you got social psychologists. You have a third group, that's science, academia, research, technology, and special education. That's professors, instructors, teachers, students, school psychologists, and a few more categories. And you have the psychologist, life coaching, and social worker and therapist professional category, which deals with counseling and clinical psychologists, holistic practitioners, holistic counselors, and you have therapists and psychiatrists. And the reason these groups were created, when we first started out, we had a general channel, but you had various different conversations going on at once. To streamline those conversations and to encourage interactions amongst similar professionals, creating these channels in Slack, which will be our primary communication tool for the members, that will help kind of direct the conversation without having other conversations of different groups mixed in the middle of them. So it just streamlines the conversation for you. But also, you're not limited to your one group or cohort that you fit into. If you want to dabble in another category, or you want to try to partner with someone in another category because you need that type of assistance, feel free to migrate across the categories and converse with those other professionals that are in those different cohorts. So that way, you know, if you need someone who's an IO or HR to help you do something business-wise and you need to collaborate with them, then you can do so. These groups are also placed on the website. So that's on our homepage. If you scroll down some, it says, who's this for? You'll see these groups listed there along with one other group for personal interest in wellness. So that could be just those who are interested in wellness, but they actually don't work in that space, but they want to talk to somebody or get to know someone on the society and be able to network and collaborate. That's what that category is for on the actual website. And let's
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. So
very welcome.
Just in addition to what you said, I wanted to indicate that you have help to improve also with your group. I'm trying to get to show it as well. You have helped to improve the visibility of the definition of the Mental Wellness Society. I'm trying to make it bigger, but I don't succeed. Maybe if I do that. So you are, the idea of the 4 groups is that everybody is one of the 4 groups that we have on Slack as a primary activity. That's your main activity. And from that, there is different specialties, of course. But you should seriously belong and get engaged in one of the 4 Slack category as your main category. But it does not mean it have, as Torrey said, it's the only one. You can also go to the other one once in a while or when you want. But what we try to do is that you don't get invaded by too many Slack message. And by the way, you can mute the Slack alert so it does not come to you eventually. There is a way to mute that, and then you only go when you want. And you look at what is interesting or what is new for you in that channel. Okay? So, any question about all of that at this point? No question? Nobody? Okay. So, from that, I will propose to our member from Hungary, we'll give priority to a woman to tell us about her and what she's doing.
Thank you so much. My name is Amina Perjesi. I am based in, well, primarily in Budapest, Hungary, although COVID has had us move out to the countryside, which I've enjoyed more than I ever thought I would. So now I'm here most of the time, doing a lot of coaching online, and then I also do some in-person work. So I go up to Budapest a couple of days a week. I work mostly with leaders, either through organizations or they come to me privately often. They don't necessarily want the organization to know. And the reason why mental wellness caught my attention, and I was very excited to be invited to this group, was because I find that mental wellness defines so many things in organizations. I also work as a team coach a lot, and it is just right now, especially with COVID, it is just so obvious that a lot of our work is around how to stay mentally well. I don't work in the healthcare sector, although I do some pro bono work there. But my main focus is how to be well and how to be sustainably well within an organization, as a leader, but also just as a private person. And I am very excited to be promoting this here in Hungary. I think I was listening to Coty a lot because I'm very new to this. And so I was thinking about how to go by it. I haven't launched or haven't set up a team yet. So I'm learning from you all to see how to do that in a constructive way. But I think in Hungary, mental wellness, the concept is probably somewhat known, but not as much as we need to be aware that this is important. And just like positive psychology, the focus should not be just on dysfunctions, but rather how can we prevent dysfunctions, and how can we live a life that that embraces mental wellness. And you know, I'm sure about leadership, a lot of high-performing leaders do great, but there is a huge cost, not just to their own mental wellness often, but to their teams and their organizations. And so I feel quite responsible that we as coaches need to be able to create a balance and bring in mental wellness as a stakeholder to these discussions, to the coaching with leaders, and through that also our ecology and sustainability and all that. So there's a big vision and a strong purpose, and now I'm trying to figure out what the best way is to go about the work.
Thank you. So basically, you are mostly corporate and executive coach.
I would say yes. I also work a lot with the coach community because I do mentor coaching and supervision. And I also train coaches who then often are not necessarily within organizations. They come from all walks of life. I train, well, I should say it's more teaching coaching to people who want to use it. Some will become coaches and some will use it like physicians. We have a lot of physicians and all kinds of professionals coming to learn the coaching technique itself. So
your background is psychology or IO?
My background is actually in languages, in humanities. I did an Albert dissertation PhD in comparative literature, English and German. And then I had children and I decided family was more important. I lived in Florida for about 14 years. So it wasn't easy at that time. Not everything was online, or I should say very little was online. And it would have taken a lot for me to away from the family. So I went down a different road and started working more with groups and people directly. But my background is in humanities. And then when I came back to Hungary, that's when I started working as a trainer and coach.
Okay, thank you so much.
There.
So definitely we have a lot to offer to the type of activity you do, and we will make sure that we are meshing and getting involved with you to help you in your mission. So now we'll go to the most distant one in the group. It's New Zealand. So please, Shiv, tell us about you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Shiv, and I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm originally from India. I came to New Zealand in 1998, so I've been here 23 years. Firstly, I want to confess, on the heels of all of you with all your wonderful qualifications, I don't have a PhD, nor am I working towards one.
Good for you. Good for you.
So, well, I'm just a simple engineering graduate. I graduated with mechanical engineering from India back in the 80s. And I didn't work in engineering for long. First couple of years, I was working in a factory, and then I just found that that wasn't the kind of work I wanted to do. This was after I completed all the engineering degree and all that. When I started working as an engineer, it was like, I don't like this. You know, I didn't want to be working with machines. I wanted to be working with people. So I switched to sales. And then I was selling all kinds of engineering equipment in India until 97, end of 97. And then I hit a bit of a plateau in my career. I wasn't sure where I was going. And I thought, well, the best place to go is somewhere really, really far away. So I ended up choosing the farthest that I could ever go to. Knew nothing much about New Zealand. Back then, I didn't have the services of Google and YouTube and all that, of course. So I was essentially taking a leap in the dark just because New Zealand was offering immigration to skilled migrants. So I took it, I qualified, I came over here, and then started a new struggle in a new country as a new migrant, which is a big story in itself. But having done all that, I worked here in the corporate world for another 13 years or so. And it was in 2019 when I again felt what I felt back in India, that I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I was effectively counting down to retirement. So I was wanting my life, I was wanting to get old faster so I could retire. And that's when I thought, that's a lousy way to live life. I've got to do something else with my life. And then I of course, now I had the benefit of the internet, so I did a lot of research and found out that I want to do some coaching. And I ended up attending a seminar somewhere. I liked what I heard, and I enrolled for a life coaching diploma here. Having done that, after a couple of months, I quit my job. And then I just continued on. I became a coach, and now I'm a coach based here. I started off initially just before COVID, so I was thinking that I'll be doing a lot of in-person coaching. Then, of course, COVID came along and decided that it had other ideas. So I had to switch to online. Initially, I thought that was a major challenge for me because I didn't grow up in the online world. I've still got notes here that I write with pen and paper. Not very comfortable with technology. But in a way, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because, I'm not now limited just to little old New Zealand. I can now coach people anywhere in the world. So that's really turned out to be a real blessing for me. The way I got involved with mental wellness is obviously, I had the pleasure of Doc reaching out to me. So, which doc? Now there's so many doctors. Okay. Doc AGM reaching out to me, and I grew up in a culture here in New Zealand, not sort of grew up, but in my career, there's a huge focus in New Zealand on health and safety in the workplace. Now, health and safety here essentially means physical health and safety. So make sure that there are no injuries in the workplace. And that's great. That's a fantastic thing to want to do. But then I started finding that there was very little attention given to the stress that people were feeling in the workplace. In fact, mostly the Kiwi culture is that if someone says, especially if a male says that they're struggling with something mentally, they just say, just get on with it, mate. Or they'll say something like, she'll be right, mate. So it's almost like, mental stresses or mental troubles are considered well below the physical ones. If you say, I've got, my arms hurt, or, I've got a pain in my back or something, then they'll say, yeah, go see a doctor straight away, take some time off, go and see a physio and all that. But if you say, I'm getting stressed and I'm feeling down every day, they're going to say, oh, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. So this kind of thing, and I was thinking, then I see the statistics in New Zealand, and I find that, per capita, we do have a very high rate of depression and anxiety and so on. So that's what I was thinking, that there was a bit of a disconnect there, that, there's so much focus on health and safety. But when it comes to someone talking about, their mental health is what it used to be. But mental wellness, I like the concept because as a coach, we are basically proactive people. We're talking about, intervention or helping people well before they get to a stage where they need to go to counseling or therapy. So mental wellness for me is something like that you want to get in and help people before they're at a stage where they need some serious intervention. And that's what I like about this whole mental wellness concept. And I've seen, I can relate a lot to what Amina has been saying, because she works with these, executives and, at the top of the ladder. I've seen them completely swat these things away like flies. They think people who are struggling mentally with something are essentially weak people and not good enough for their team. And I've experienced this personally in one of my companies where, I worked with, I had an immediate manager who was a woman that I worked with, and we worked together very closely for about 7 or 8 years. And then she had cancer, and then she died. So for me, when I went and saw her in the hospital and all that, I was very disturbed because I'd not had, you know, that kind of an experience where someone I'd worked with so closely had deteriorated so much physically that, you know, I saw her as a, you know, just as a bundle of bones. And so, and then she died a week after I saw her in the hospital. So I was, you know, mentally very disturbed. Came back to work, and then of course there was a small little function in the company, you know, just to remember her and all that. And then a couple of days later, I was still, you know, in a bit of a daze and not quite sure of how I should be getting on with my work. And I had a meeting with, I think it was my executive director then. And then as we were talking about something, he said, like, Shiv, you don't seem to be here fully. What's wrong with you? So I said, no, you see, I'm just thinking about what happened with her, and, you know, and it's still playing on my mind. And he tells me, well, you know, whatever has happened has happened. We just need to get on with the business of selling steel, all right? And for me, that was like, so that's how you deal with someone who is going through grief. And for me, that was simply not acceptable. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff in the corporate world that pisses me off. This is one of them. So now that I'm a coach and I'm in a position where I'm, you know, my ideal clients are more the mid-career professionals. So essentially people like my former self, people who might be going through the things that I went through, and finding that they really don't have anyone that they can talk to, because most of the time, you know, mid-career professionals are like meat in the sandwich. They've got a team they have to manage and motivate and inspire, and then they've got people that they report to, so they get dragged in two different directions. So I want to be there to be able to help people like that. So that's where I think that this mental wellness, if I can find a way to incorporate it into my coaching, it would be very useful.
Very good. Thank you. Danilo, can you give us in 5 minutes things about you in Italy?
Okay, yeah. Actually, I'm trying to increase my skills in AI because I want to use it like more in develop of neural model to study the brain without, obviously, it's not possible to damage the brain, the human brain, but many times to study the human brain functions, it's necessary to have like one of the aspects used are people with vision in that area to understand which was the role of that area. Actually, like I'm trying to use the AI, like it's called computational embodied neuroscience. And there are like different instruments to develop model of the human brain to study it. Actually, like I'm doing my thesis, my project about the develop of prosopagnosia. On the prosopagnosia is the ability of people to recognize human faces. And like I'm starting to train myself and doing it with the IE to Life. That is a team, a school that's come from the National Center of Research of Rome. And I'm cooperating with them with my thesis, and then probably I will do my other research project with them. Actually, my goal is more to start to use the artificial intelligence in the study of the human brain, and then also with potential application for the mental wellness. So this is more my idea for my future.
Thank you. Danilo, you are talking about the brain, which is a dear subject to Dr. Leisman because he's the founder of the Brain Institute in Israel. But are you doing brain on mind or just brain?
Brain and mind. Like my background, my bachelor is in psychology. My bachelor was in psychology and sociology, psychosocial aspects. My master's degree in cognitive psychology and cognitive neuroscience. Okay. Then with my background, I came to AI.
Okay, so we are talking about mind on brain. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So the whole spectrum. Good. We were speaking...
let me just add something to what we just heard. Sometimes at least in my professional life, I'm highly involved in counting the number of angels dancing on the head of a pin. And the relevance to real life situations is perhaps somewhat of a stretch. Part of the problem, not part of the responsibilities that all of us have, be it in science or in coaching or whatever discipline it is to effectively communicate with others, to influence others, and to make a difference in this planet somehow or another. I believe that as a piece of each of our lives. So what I would like to suggest is, and there are many places that we can take this, if you're interested in AI, and you're interested in how the brain works, and you're interested in face recognition, in prosopagnosia, for example, as you said, try to think of ways of how your work can be directly applied to facilitate effective living in people's lives. So for example, I deal with inter-regional neural connectivities in the brain. Well, isn't that nice? Because I'm interested in the principle of optimization. But my God, optimization can be variously translated into so many applications. That would include, for example, how to effectively speak to people, how to communicate an idea, how to offer, as Shiv had said earlier, solace and comfort to people who need it. In fact, there was a professor of religious studies, of theology, at Union Theological Seminary in New York, a guy named Reinhold Niebuhr, who defined religion, for example, as the process to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comforted. And I think mental wellness kind of sits in these kind of applications areas. So in terms of artificial intelligence, marry it together with virtual reality and have people go through real life situations. Or if you're interested in face recognition, take a look at people who are post-stroke and see how you can make their lives more effective, especially those who have damaged facial recognition systems. You want to work with autistics in applications that you're doing, do that. But don't treat it as the beginning, middle, and an end of science for its own sake. We don't have the time as human beings to effectively take our knowledge and leave it as knowledge anymore. So I just needed to add that point.
Thank you. So in the 7 remaining minutes I have, I want to make a comment about India because it's a good segue with Shiv Kumar, who was from India. When we started in India, the Mental Wellness Society, our associate, Sree, Palamaki, was a little bit doubtful because in India, it's a trauma, a stigma to go to see a mental health person. And the people will go at night and the family should not know. And he was very precautious about that. But he made a post and we promoted this post. He gave us the idea of the post and then we made the graphic. We have a team to do that every day. We do a post. If any one of you wants to say something interesting, please let us know because we'll be happy to post your post. But we put a post and in 2 days after the post, he got 2 new clients. And he got many people calling him and say, oh, it's very interesting because in India, we don't like mental health, but mental wellness, that is a good idea. We like it because the concept is about prevention and not remediation, number 1. And it's overall wellness, man and body actually. But also to such a point that we are in the process to create now an Indian chapter of the Mental Wellness Society. So that's an interesting success story. So what do we do in the Mental Wellness Society? 3 main things. We share information on knowledge, and we share all type of things, seminar, webinar, books. If you have a book, we'll be happy to put it on the website. If you have an idea, an article, not necessarily from you, you found something interesting, please put it in Slack, share with others. we want to know more, and the information and the knowledge is the real base of our organization. The second activity, we work together and we help together and we contribute together. At the beginning, different people have an idea, as everybody was the owner of his own business. Why? By being together as a mental wellness society, which, by the way, everybody who mentioned that they are a facilitator on their association with the mental wellness society, they gain in recognition because we are becoming more an authority in that field. And it's a good recognition for you. So don't hesitate to mention that you are part of the mental wellness society. But we help each other. We try to do projects together. So that's the second activity. And that's why we have the channel in your field to be with your colleague, but also what is annexed and connects to your field. And the last activity is we promote, and our job is to make sure we think global and we apply local. But the local one who apply is you. But if there is something interesting happening in Budapest, we want to be able to share it with Kuala Lumpur on what happened in Africa, what happened, I'm sorry, in America, and it's possible to share with people in Africa. That is also something we want to do. And by the way, we do a lot of, we are looking for humanitarian project. For example, we have a project how to help to carry water on the head of children in Africa without damaging their vertebra. And so our job is to make you known all over the world and to have a global that all the members are known on what the members are doing, because you are all successful people in your own right. We have different tools in our own makeup and our profession, but we want to build a big toolbox which is global that we can use all over the world. To do that, we need to communicate with each other. So that's why we want you to engage in Slack, but don't be reactive, be proactive, ask questions, even silly question, any question, but it's an engagement. We need your engagement deeply. At the same time, we are sharing the concept of mindful choice because we are talking about choice, the choice to change, the choice to make good choice in our life versus bad choice. And we have a tool called Mindful Choice to do that. And we are planning once a month to create webinar. We cannot do 3 like we do in the world meeting. We will do one once a month. We'll find a time which is compatible for everybody all over the world. It will be challenging, but we should be able to find a median time which is okay for everybody. And we will have a masterclass on one tool at the time of the meta competence we are developing. We have 7 meta competence, actually 6. The 7th one is to put how to work the 6 together in order to make it work. But the 6 meta competence is something we want to share with you because they are very, very useful and they help to make decisions which are immune of impulsivity or inattention. They are good decision making and they are decisions made by the mind, not by the brain and the emotion. So we will let you know about that. It will be recorded. So, and we'll put it on Slack and on the website so everybody can see those masterclass that we are organizing. And actually, some of them will be in Spanish. Now that Coty is trained in Mindful Choice, she can also teach it in Spanish. Any question from anybody before we disband the meeting?
I do have a question. You say Coty is trained in Mindful Choice. What does that involve, the training?
The training is, number one, we started by 6 weeks of using all the tools, all the elements. Mm-hmm. Then in her case, she wanted to be trained and certified. Some people don't need to be certified. They just want to be trained because mm-hmm. they want to know how do you use the analytic system we have? How do you use the card? How do you do that tool? That's 6 weeks, basically, 1 time a week, 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes supervision, because we have different case, we have some principle, we have some paradigm, and you go more in those cases on principle and paradigm, and that takes, I would say, 5 weeks more or less, 5-6 weeks more or less, and it's more supervision and training for being a mindful choice coach or therapist, if you are a therapist. And we have the two, mindful choice, mind-focused coaching, mind-focused therapy. But it's not an obligation, but it's very useful because this method is sequential, it's an expert system, and anybody who knows more, I don't want to say it myself, Coty, maybe you can say a word, Torrey, you can say maybe a word. Everybody who knows it can tell you that nothing in psychology is the same as that, because it's an applied psychology, metacognitive positive psychology. It's a way to apply positive psychology in everyday life. Coty, you want to say a word or Torrey?
Yes, I would say that it's like thinking about your way of thinking. And our way of thinking is something that you have learned when you was a child, and you never decide how do you want to think, how you want to think. And now you have a very powerful tool. First thing is to know how do you think, what is your pattern, that sometimes is something that you've learned, and not always is the pattern you want to decide to have until this day. So I think it's very powerful. I'm using it. I'm using it myself with my clients. I'm very happy to use it. I see, and everyone can see, the patient, the clients can see the difference. So you can't change your environment always. You can change yourself. This is a very powerful tool. Sorry, maybe you want to add something.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. I've had the same experiences where when let me plug in here, my computer says it's going to die on me. But I've had the same experiences from a consulting standpoint. And it's really being a part of the Mental Wellness Society has helped me grow from local consulting to consulting over the United States and even in a couple other countries. So it's given me some exposure there. But just talking about it from a mental wellness perspective and the MFC methodology has just really helped move forward organizations in a faster, more productive manner. They're no longer the ones I'm working with operating in this gray area. And it's like, okay, either we're going to do this or we're not. That binary thought process of boiling things down to 2 decisions. And one is going to lead you either to your destination and one is going to lead you away from your destination. And which one are you going to choose? And just having those candid conversations in that manner has really moved forward the organizations that I'm working with from a training standpoint, and then just from them growing and being able to rebrand themselves totally. And they're just loving the process, loving the thought process behind that. It's been an amazing experience.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll continue to meet more or less once a month, and we will add the sharing more tool. You receive an ebook, you receive e-cards. We would like you to dig in what the package you receive and come back to us and tell us questions or how we can help you to use it better, to understand it better. We are here to help you to better use the tool and show you how important they are in mental wellness and wellness in general. Gerry, you want to say something?
No.
You want to say goodbye to everybody because it's time to say goodbye?
I could do that. Just one small little comment to Amina. You mentioned that intervention is useful in corporations and in people's lives, of course. But one thing I just wanted to add, the place that we really need to put this methodology is into the world of politics. If some of us could find some way of getting mental wellness into, especially in Hungary and here in Israel and the United States, God help me, it may be an interesting change in the planet. So I would suggest that as maybe a mission of our burgeoning organization to somehow or another get this technology into the halls of government.
Okay, so that will be the closing word. To just mention with what said Gerry, this is why our scientific journal, the first article will be published. We are collecting articles within a year, but our scientific journal is a journal of the mental, societal, and global wellness. And what just said Gerry was reinforcing the title of our scientific journal. Thank you, everybody. It was a great pleasure. It shows that we don't need we don't need to be too many people to have a good qualitative meeting. It was a great qualitative meeting. Thank you so much for all your
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.
Lovely meeting you.
Bye.
Good day, good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Torrey. Good night, Torrey.
Good night, Torrey.
Yes, I'm going back to bed.
Good night.
You are very elegant for going to bed.
For a guy for a guy waking up in the middle of the night, the bow tie, I have never seen that.
Is that how you go to sleep, Torrey?
No, I can't say that.
It's just how he wakes up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Great meeting.